The first time I met Anna, I thought she was just shy. She sat across from me at the dinner table, quiet, her hands folded neatly in her lap. Every time I asked her a question, "How are you liking the new neighborhood? Do you enjoy painting like your husband said?" It wasn't Anna who answered. It was Mark, her husband. "She's fine," he said, cutting her off before she could speak. "She doesn't really paint anymore," he added, smiling tightly as if to end the conversation. "And Anna?" She just nodded, eyes downcast, her lips pressed into the smallest, saddest smile I'd ever seen. Please subscribe to our channel and tell me in comments from where are you watching this video. First, I thought maybe that was just their dynamic. Some couples are like that, right? But then I started noticing things I couldn't ignore. The way she flinched slightly whenever he moved too fast. The way her hand froze in midair whenever she almost answered on her own, like she was waiting for permission that never came. It was worse the third time we met, when I visited their house. Anna had made dinner. A feast, really enough food for 10 people. She moved around the kitchen like a ghost, never sitting down, never joining the conversation. Every time I tried to talk to her, Mark's voice filled the space instead. "She's just tired. She doesn't really have an opinion on that. She's not much of a talker." But her eyes told a different story. They weren't shy. They were trapped. And that night, when Mark stepped away to take a phone call, Anna glanced at me just for a second, as if testing if I was safe. And in the softest whisper, almost too quiet to hear, she said 3 chilling words. "He won't let me." I froze, my heart pounding, questions flooding my mind. What wouldn't he let her do? Speak? Live? Be herself? That was the moment I knew. Anna wasn't silent by choice. She was silent because someone had stolen her voice, and the man sitting right beside her was the thief. The next time I saw Anna was at the grocery store, a week later. She was standing alone in the baking aisle, her hands clutching a list like it was a lifeline. I hesitated for a moment, unsure if approaching her would make things worse, but then I remembered the way she whispered those 3 words to me. "He won't let me." I walked up slowly and said, "Hi, Anna." My voice was soft, as if I might scare her away. She turned, her eyes wide at first, then dimming quickly like she had been caught doing something wrong. "Hi," she murmured, barely audible. Before I could say anything else, I heard heavy footsteps behind us. Mark appeared, his arm immediately sliding around her shoulders, pulling her close like property. His smile was tight, forced. "Hey," he said to me. "Funny running into you here." Anna was just picking up a few things. I noticed how her body stiffened under his arm, her lips pressing into a thin line. She didn't say another word. Mark did all the talking, joking about dinner plans, asking about my life, filling every silence before Anna could speak. When he turned to grab something off the shelf, Anna looked at me again, a flicker of desperation in her eyes. It was like she wanted to scream, but fear kept her frozen. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I lay awake wondering what kind of life she lived behind closed doors. A life where she couldn't answer simple questions. A life where her husband decided her thoughts for her. A life where silence wasn't peace, it was survival. A few weeks later, Mark invited me and a few friends over for dinner again. The moment I walked into their house, I felt it. The weight in the air, the quiet tension hiding under the smell of roasted chicken and polished wood floors. Anna moved like a shadow, setting the table, refilling glasses, clearing plates before anyone had finished. She never sat down, never joined the conversation. Halfway through dinner, I noticed a small bruise on her wrist as she reached for a dish. My stomach twisted. I wanted to ask if she was okay, but Mark's eyes were on me, sharp and possessive, like he was daring me to say something out of line. Later, when he left the room to grab dessert, I leaned toward Anna, whispering, "Are you safe?" She froze, her hands trembling around a wine glass. Her lips parted like she wanted to speak, but fear clamped down on her throat. She glanced toward the kitchen, then back at me, and for a heartbeat I saw it. The weight of years of control, of being erased piece by piece until silence became her only shield. Before she could answer, Mark's voice rang out cheerfully from the kitchen. Anna sat back, her face blank again as if nothing had happened. For that night. When I was leaving, Mark walked me to the door. His smile didn't reach his eyes. Anna's lucky to have someone who understands her limits, he said casually, as if he was talking about a child, not his wife. Some women just need a man to speak for them. I felt a chill run down my spine. This wasn't love. This wasn't partnership. This was possession, control, a cage disguised as a marriage. And as I drove home, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, one thought kept replaying in my head. If no one helps Anna, she might never have a voice again. I didn't know how yet, but I promised myself this. Next time I saw that flicker of desperation in her eyes, I wouldn't just look away. I wouldn't let Mark answer for her forever. Because silence can kill a soul, and Anna's was barely hanging on. 2 days later, Anna showed up at my doorstep. It was raining hard, water dripping from her hair and coat, her hands trembling as if she'd run here straight from hell itself. My heart jumped into my throat when I opened the door and saw her like that. "Anna," I whispered, pulling her inside. "What happened? Are you okay?" She stood there in my hallway, soaked and shaking, her lips pressed tight like the words were stuck behind a wall she couldn't break. Finally, she let out a shaky breath and whispered, "I had to come. I don't know where else to go." I wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and led her to the couch. She sat hunched over, gripping the fabric like she might disappear without it. I waited, not pushing, just letting her breathe. After what felt like forever, her voice came out small, fragile, but laced with a pain that made my chest ache. "He doesn't let me speak," she said, tears finally spilling down her face. "Every word, every thought. I have to check if it's okay with him first. I can't make a decision, can't say yes or no. Can't even order coffee without him deciding for me." She choked on a sob. "It's like I don't exist anymore." My fists clenched on my lap. "Anna, how long has this been happening?" "Since the first month of our marriage," she whispered, eyes distant. "It started small." He'd correct my answers, tell people what I meant to say. At first I thought he was just helping me, but it never stopped. And if I ever spoke without his permission, her voice broke, he'd get angry. He'd tell me I was embarrassing him, that my opinions were stupid, that nobody wanted to hear my voice anyway. Eventually I stopped trying. I swallowed hard, my own tears stinging. "Anna, this isn't love. This is control. You don't deserve to live like this." She looked up at me, a flicker of something desperate in her eyes. "I know. But I don't know how to leave. He says no one else would want me. That I can't survive on my own." I reached for her hands, holding them tightly. "That's another one of his lies. You are more than his shadow, Anna. You deserve to be seen, heard, loved for who you are, not silenced." She broke down then, sobbing into her hands. Years of fear and pain spilled out in every tear, every shaky breath. I sat with her, my arms around her, silently promising that this time, someone would fight for her voice. Hours passed before she finally looked at me, eyes swollen but clearer than before. "Can you help me?" she asked softly, as if afraid of the answer. I didn't hesitate. "Yes. But Anna, you have to be ready. This won't be easy. He won't let go of control without a fight." She nodded slowly. I just want to be me again. I don't even remember what my own voice sounds like anymore." Those words carved a hole in my heart. How could someone strip another human being down so far they forgot the sound of their own voice? We made a plan that night. I told her she could stay with me as long as she needed. I showed her the hotline numbers, resources, people who specialized in helping women escape controlling partners. She was terrified, but for the first time I saw a spark, a tiny flame of courage in her eyes. The next day, Mark showed up at my door. His smile was fake, his tone calm, but his eyes were ice. "Anna's here, isn't she?" he said, voice low, threatening. "She gets confused sometimes. Comes running to people who don't understand how marriage works." I stepped between him and the door. My voice shook, but I stood tall. "Marriage isn't control, Mark. It's not your right to steal someone's life. She's safe here. And this time you don't get to speak for her." His jaw tightened, rage flickering in his eyes, but he left with a promise under his breath. "She'll regret this." I closed the door, my heart racing, and found Anna standing in the hallway, terrified but standing taller than I'd ever seen her. She whispered, "For the first time, I feel like I can breathe." And in that moment I knew there was no going back. Anna's silence was ending. Slowly, painfully, but for good. For the first time in years, Anna slept peacefully that night on my couch. I sat in the armchair beside her, keeping watch like a guard, afraid that at any moment Mark might pound on the door again. But the house stayed quiet, and in the stillness I saw something in her face I hadn't seen before. A hint of calm, like she was finally tasting what freedom felt like. The next morning, Anna woke up slowly, blinking like she had forgotten what it felt like to sleep without fear. She sat up, clutching the blanket, and whispered, "I don't know who I am anymore. He erased everything about me." I knelt beside her, my hand over hers. "Anna, you're still in there. He tried to bury you under his rules and his words, but you're stronger than he ever believed." Tears welled in her eyes. "What if he doesn't let me go? What if I can't do this?" "You don't need his permission to live," I said firmly. "And you don't have to do this alone." For the first time she gave a small, trembling nod, and I knew we had reached the turning point. Over the next few days, we gathered everything she needed: documents, a small bag of clothes, contact with support services who promised to help her start over. Each time she packed something, her hands shook, like she couldn't believe she was preparing to leave. But every hour she spent away from Mark, her posture straightened a little more, her voice grew a little stronger. One evening, as we sat in the kitchen planning her next steps, Anna suddenly looked at me, determination flickering in her eyes. "I need to see him," she said. I hesitated, unsure if it was safe, but she squeezed my hand. "I don't mean to go back. I mean to end it. I need to look him in the eye and finally say the words he never let me say." So we planned it carefully: a public place, people nearby, and exit if things went wrong. Anna wasn't going there as his silent wife anymore. She was going as a woman who had found her voice. The meeting was in a quiet cafe on a rainy afternoon. When Mark walked in, his confident stride and smug smile made my stomach twist. He slid into the chair opposite Anna and leaned forward. "Finally came to your senses," he sneered. "Let's go home." Anna's hand shook, but she didn't look away. For the first time, she didn't wait for him to speak for her. Her voice was soft but steady, and it cut through the air like a blade. "No, Mark. I'm not going home. I'm not your property. I'm not your shadow. I'm not your silence anymore." He blinked, shocked, like he had never imagined a world where Anna could speak without his permission. "You're nothing without me," he spat, his voice low and dangerous. She straightened her shoulders, tears glistening in her eyes, but her chin held high. "I've been nothing because you made me believe it. But I'd rather build a life from nothing than spend one more day living in your cage." Mark leaned forward, his face twisting with anger, but before he could speak, Anna stood. For the first time in years, she looked him in the eye and said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "You don't get to answer for me anymore. My voice is mine. My life is mine. And you can't take it back." Every word seemed to free her a little more. She turned, walked out the door without looking back, leaving him frozen in his own fury, powerless for the first time. For weeks that followed weren't easy. Anna cried often. Some days she doubted herself, scared of the future, of rebuilding a life she hadn't been allowed to live in years. But slowly, day by day, she began to rediscover who she was. She signed her own name on her new apartment lease. She ordered coffee without glancing over her shoulder. She started painting again, soft strokes at first, then bold, defiant colors that filled a canvas with everything she had once been forced to hide. One evening we sat on her small balcony, watching the sun dip below the horizon. Anna turned to me, her voice calm and sure this time. "For so long," she said, "I thought silence was safety. I thought love meant obeying, disappearing, letting him speak for me. But now I know love doesn't steal your voice. Real love listens." I reached over and squeezed her hand. "And now, Anna, you'll never have to whisper again." She smiled, tears sliding down her cheeks, but this time they weren't from fear. They were from freedom. And in that moment, I knew the silent wife was gone forever, because Anna had finally found herself again. Understanding the moral of the story. Love should never silence you. A healthy relationship gives you space to speak, to live, to be fully yourself. Silence under control isn't peace, it's a prison. Find your voice, protect it fiercely, and never let anyone take it away again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell me in comments from where are you watching this video.